Hello and welcome everybody to today's webinar conducted by Nancy Spivey and Nancy Gerber. Welcome. They'll be talking about the magic of mastermind. Very, very excited to have both of them here with us today and want to take a moment just to introduce them quickly and then we'll get started. Nancy and Nancy are longtime entrepreneurs, business coaches, consultants, who have worked with thousands of business owners during the past 20 years. They are known as the Nancys, and it does get confusing for me knowing which Nancy is which. They've also been called the Steel Magnolia and the Jewish Mother, and they invite you to guess which one is which. They have learned firsthand the common factors that contribute to the success or failure of every business. Together, they created the Magic of MasterMind and the Best Business Minds community. Their mission is to build communities of business professionals who energize, support, and propel each other to prosper. Please join me in welcoming Nancy and Nancy. And Nancy, I would like to go ahead and turn over the screen to you.
Great. Can you hear me? This is Nancy G.
Yes, we can.
And this is Nancy Spivey, and we have the screen here now, so thank you.
All right. Technology is a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. So,
well,
welcome.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, just wanted to say welcome, everyone, and we're really excited to be here today, and we appreciate you taking your time to be with us. We know how precious time is, especially these days. So we're delighted that you chose to spend the next hour with us.
Absolutely. And just again, as Kathy said, we're the Nancys, and I know it gets confusing, but we'll try to keep it as clear as possible. But we're both just really excited to be here and appreciate you being with us. And, you know, sometimes as business professionals, we can just hit the wall. You have a question that you can't figure out, or you have a problem that you can't find a solution for, or a decision that you need to make, and you keep going around and around and can't find the answer. And that's exactly why between the two of us, Nancy and I have participated in over a dozen mastermind groups over the past 15 to 20 years. Nancy Gerber started one that ran for over 11 years, and they still stay in touch. And I started a number of mastermind groups, and some still continue, and we have been together for many, many years. And we just believe that mastermind groups are such a powerful tool for any business.
Absolutely, and it's also a powerful tool for anybody in any field who wants to be more successful.
Yes, and we're just really passionate about the mastermind group topic. And if you'd like to learn more about us, you can do that by going to our websites, www.magicofmastermind and www.bestbusinessmind.com.
Okay, great. So we are going to just jump right in and get started. And first of all, we have a promise for you today, those of you on the call and on this webinar. We promise that by the end of this program, you are going to walk away with some immediately useful ideas that will literally transform your business. And hope that sounds good to you, and we look forward to hearing from you a little bit later on the chat via Kathy. And
Nancy, let me jump in
sure.
and invite everyone. When you have a question, if you type it into your question section on the control panel for the webinar, I will be monitoring questions as we go. Sometimes we'll jump in with them during the webinar, and some of them we'll save to the end. So please do feel free to get your questions typed in so that we make sure the Nancys have a chance to respond.
Great, thanks, Kathy. Okay, Nancy, why don't you go ahead and continue?
Yeah. So what we want to talk about now is basically 5 specific topics about masterminding. This is what we're going to share with you today. For many years, whenever we've mentioned our activities about masterminding and the results that we get from masterminding different groups that we've been in, people have always gotten excited and said to us, well, how do I get involved in one of those? Or how do you join one? How does it work? boy, I wish I had one of those, or do you have room in your group for someone else? So today we're going to answer some of those questions, and we're going to talk about the 5 specific topics about masterminding that we think are really critical in your mastermind success.
Right. And the first one we're going to talk about is we're going to specifically clarify what a mastermind group is and is not. It's just as important to know what it isn't as well as what it is. We're also going to show you how to leverage your time with a mastermind group. We're going to tell you how to make more money with mastermind groups. We're going to tell you how to gain access to the best resources, and we are going to give you the formula for creating what we like to call the magic. So we're going to give you as much as we can in the next 50-55 minutes or so, and as Kathy said, we do invite you to ask questions, and you're going to have an opportunity to participate a little more fully in a little while. So first of all, we want to make sure that you know the truth about mastermind groups, and we encourage you, if you have pen and paper handy, you might want to write these down.
So number 1, mastermind groups are very simple to set up.
Absolutely. And number 2, they are easy to keep going for a very long time.
And 3, they work for any kind of business, and they also work for personal goals as well.
Number 4, a very small investment of time and effort yields a huge ROI, return on investment.
And number 5, mastermind groups are a proven, time-tested success tool that have been around for almost 300 years.
And if you want to know about the 300 years, we'll tell you about that. You might want to ask us about that in the chat window. And number 6, and most important, success is not an accident. Neither is failure. Entrepreneurs who thrive choose to participate in mastermind groups to ensure that they are surrounded by other successful entrepreneurs and business owners and business professionals. And one of the biggest reasons that we are so passionate about this is that the power of masterminding translates into dollars and cents. And we are going to tell you about that a little bit later on when we share the results of some of the people in mastermind groups that we have known. So first of all, let's continue on and let's spend some time and talk about what a mastermind group is.
So a mastermind group is a specially selected group of people with similar intentions who meet regularly to help one another achieve their goals. And Nancy mentioned about mastermind groups being around, we said, for 300 years. Actually, mastermind groups have been the secret weapon of success-oriented business owners ever since Ben Franklin started the first one back in 1727. Napoleon Hill reintroduced the idea in his classic 1937 book, Think and Grow Rich. And your mastermind group is like having your very own advisory board or board of directors.
Absolutely. So that's what a mastermind group is. And now we want to take a couple minutes and talk to you about what a mastermind group is not, because this is just as important. Now, some people are involved in business groups and they think they are already masterminding, but actually that's not the case. Because if you think about the challenges that you face in your everyday business life, and we want you to start thinking about that, because in a couple of minutes we're going to ask you to jot down a few of your challenges, and we're going to come back to those. But if you think about some of the challenges that you face, they're probably not being met by the business groups that you're involved in. If you're going to networking meetings, if you're going to leads groups, if you're going to professional associations, merchant associations, chambers of commerce, if you're going to training events, or even if you're in social events, you're socializing with your network of business friends and colleagues, the problem, the challenge here is that many business owners think, or many business professionals think, that some of these groups are going to serve their needs as a mastermind groups. But the truth of it is that one of the biggest principles and one of the biggest attractions to mastermind groups, one of the core principles, is that of the ability to be really honest, good, bad, or indifferent, whether things are great or things are not so great. A mastermind group is a place where you can really come to the group and be completely honest about what's going on and ask for help. However, when you're involved in these kinds of networking meetings and these other groups, you got to put on your game face. You can't talk about your problems. It's important to present and everything is great and my business is really going strong persona. And if you cannot be honest and authentic and be in an environment where there's trust for you to tell the truth, then although these other groups serve a terrific function in your business life and provide a lot of opportunity for you, they are not mastermind groups. So one of the great things about a mastermind group is that you really can totally be yourself and you don't have to worry about your game face all the time. Okay, so now we said just a minute ago that we're going to talk about the business challenges. So before we continue, we want to pause here for just a moment and ask you to take 30 seconds right now and write down on a little piece of paper just next to you your top 2 to 3 business challenges that you're facing. Now we're going to come back to that in a little while with an opportunity for masterminding with one of you on this webinar. And so we want to invite you all to participate in the mastermind session by sharing your feedback, your ideas, and your suggestions.
And recently we were talking to a colleague who had just joined the mastermind group, and he'd been to a couple of meetings, and he expressed amazement at the quality of the feedback he had received, and he said, wow, there's no other kind of group that could be this honest with me, that could really give me this kind of feedback. And all my other groups, I put on my game face and pretend that my business is going great. And with my mastermind group, I'm able to have breakthroughs because I can really put things out there. And I've just set up more appointments for my business in the past 2 months than I have in the last year. Now, we know that you may not all know one another here today, and this may be, your first experience with masterminding, but we do want to ask that you will be willing to receive the experience of masterminding today, because it's really how you get it. Explaining masterminding is kind of like trying to explain the taste of chocolate. It's really difficult to explain unless you experience it.
That's right. That's right. You can smell chocolate. You can see chocolate, you can hear people talk about chocolate, you can read about chocolate, but until you actually taste it, you just don't know. So what we want to ask you to do is, if you are willing to participate with us in a few minutes in the masterminding portion, the mini mastermind, you can just type yes in your little chat window, or you can raise your hand just to indicate to us that you're willing to play along with us on this, and also let us know if you've got a couple or 3 of your top challenges ready in your mind that you're thinking of. Okay.
Okay. So
go ahead, Nancy.
Hopefully everybody has those challenges written down. And now what we want to do is go and talk a little bit about how masterminds can help you leverage your time. Obviously, time is money, and we all want to make the most of it. So basically, with the mastermind group, it's really easy to leverage your time, to have assistance, to learn more, and to even delegate things. Because as business professionals, there's so many things going on all the time, it's extremely easy to get off track and to be distracted. And sometimes we just have so many ideas that we don't know what to do with all of them. We don't know where to begin. And again, it's sometimes hard to get our arms around priorities. What's really important, what really fits in our business today, and what makes the most sense going forward. And so we want to share a story with you about Andy, a friend who was developing a new line of business and revenue stream. And every month, he would show up for his mastermind group, and things were really moving slowly in his business, But after a few masterminding sessions, the group, not Andy, but the group saw that his project that he was working on and putting all of his energy in really was not a fit for the overall vision that he had shared. It also wasn't generating the revenue that he needed it to, especially with the time that he was putting into it. Andy was extremely resistant to letting go of his baby, because this was his baby, this is what he wanted to work. But with the help of his group, he realized that his efforts would be better spent generating revenue elsewhere in his business. And as a result of the feedback from his mastermind group, he retooled other areas of his business and began to experience great success even in a down economy and other issues going on. So looking back, Andy shared how grateful that he was for his group because they really understood him and his business on a level that he didn't need to waste any more time or lose any more revenue. Now, without the group and honesty and the sharing that comes with the group, you know, he may have stayed in that space for a long, long time. So basically, when you know how to structure your mastermind group properly and you choose the right people, the magic occurs naturally. It just shows up. And it's really important to structure and conduct your meetings so that you create this fertile soil in which the magical level of honesty and openness will grow naturally.
Now, when we say magic, it really literally is a magical thing that comes from the deep level of sharing and honesty in a mastermind group. And this leads you to shifts in your perspective, in your thinking, in the way that you conduct business that would not occur in any other way. So that's what's really exciting about mastermind groups. It really is magical what happens.
That's right.
Okay.
So go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so remember a couple minutes ago we asked you to jot down 2 or 3 of your biggest business challenges. Okay, so what we want to do right now is give you a live demonstration as to how the power of mastermind really works, even in a live group like this when no one on the call really knows each other. So who is willing to be in the spotlight and have Nancy and me, as well as others on the call, demonstrate the power of mastermind? If you are willing to do that, raise your hand so that Kathy can see you. And let's see, who's willing to share a question or a challenge? Let's have it be about, I think,
I've
go
got
ahead, Kathy, I'm
2
sorry.
volunteers, and so Nancy, do you want me to unmute the 2 that said they would go live?
Well, why don't we do one person at a time? And then actually, Kathy, why don't we try this? Let's see if we can get, if you can do a big unmute for everybody, and then those folks on the call who are in a noisy environment mute themselves, because part of what makes a mastermind really exciting is all the energy that flows around and the suggestions that happen. So
okay. I'll go down our list of participants, and everyone on the call, I'm going to unmute you. If it's noisy where you are, please do me a favor and mute yourself. You do that by looking at your control panel. There's a small blue circle with a picture of a green microphone. When you hear that you've been unmuted, if you have background noise, just click on that microphone. You'll be muted. And that way, when you do want to talk live, you can unmute yourself. So I'm going to start going down the list.
Great.
Unmuting people.
Okay, and Kathy, who's the first person that stepped up who wanted to be in the spotlight?
Very, very good at what he
Okay,
does.
I've got Connie,
he's going to have the pizzazz.
and then I've got Kathy.
All right, yeah, Kathy, I see what you're saying. I think we're going to have to go back to the global mute.
I think we have a whole bunch of options here.
Okay, yeah, lots of feedback from people. Sorry about that, everyone. So what I'm going to do is just unmute the people that agreed to go live. Connie and Kat, and then I've got another person who volunteered. She's unable to speak because she doesn't have a microphone. So I've got her on the question panel and can feed that to you. So Connie and Kat, you're live, and Nancy, go ahead.
Hi, Nancy. This is Connie. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, yes. And
Okay,
Nancy,
great.
are you there?
I'm here. This is Kat. Sorry.
Okay, and we've got Kat live as well. So go ahead, Nancy and Nancy. Nancy Gerber, I show you're unmuted and you're indicating to me that you're muted. So it might be something on your end. I do have you live.
Ah, okay. Can you hear me now?
Oh, excellent.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm sorry. Okay, so who was the person who just spoke?
We've got
That was
Connie
me,
and
Kat.
Kat.
Okay, Kat. Okay, Kat. So you're the first person who'd like to be in the spotlight for the mastermind.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So, Kat, in a very brief description, and try to be as specific as possible, tell us what you would like to get some input on in terms of an issue with your business.
I have a couple of issues, so I'll just explain them two issues.
Okay, can you pick one, or are they intertwined?
They are not intertwined. They're totally separate. So I'll just give you the financial one, and that is finding an initial $5,000 to start up and do things the right way to get my coaching business running.
Okay, now can you tell us a little bit more about the focus of your business?
I hope my coaching business will be working with people, employees who are not necessarily managers, but are wanting to achieve more in their life. And at my current business, I'm working with graduate school students to help them work on their life school balance.
Okay. So, Nancy Spivey, do you have any more questions for Kat before we start getting some input? Nancy Spivey, are you there? I don't know if she's still muted or not.
Yeah, but I muted everyone. I'm not sure. I'm showing she's on the telephone.
Right, she's on the telephone.
And has to enter an audio pin, so I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. But in the meantime, so Kat, okay, your challenge is finding startup capital or generating startup capital, right?
Correct.
Okay. And now, do you have a particular industry that you are looking at to work in?
Well, since I'm currently working in a healthcare facility with a graduate school in it, I thought I wouldn't go far from my customers, so I'm going to be working with students who are in a graduate school of addiction studies.
Okay, okay. So talk to me a little bit more about what results you want to have people get as a result of your coaching. What is it that you're offering to people? What are they going to do better or achieve with the work that you're going to do with them?
Usually when you're working with graduate students, and I'm going to generalize terribly, but we all realize that people are different, but in general, the personality type that comes to study at that level for addiction treatment are perfectionists, and so it's very hard for them to realize that to achieve balance, balance doesn't mean that you necessarily get A+ on both sides of the balance beam.
Okay, so go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, so help them find out what their true choices are. What's going to make them the most happiest? Is it the A+ in school, or is it having time with their family? And then find a way to make it happen on both sides.
Okay, so it's kind of life balance and self-care for people who aspire to be addiction counselors.
Correct.
Okay. Nancy Spivey, can you talk now? Let's see if we can hear you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, you're very soft, though.
Okay.
Better.
So, Kat, I'm curious about what things do you need to do? What's incorporated in this $5,000 that you need?
Well, for that $5,000, I would to move truly forward. I was hoping I would be able to use some of that to cover at least a month or two of wages. Currently, I work 2 part-time jobs. I would like that to cover creating a website, working with somebody to do that, working with some marketing experts, getting some wonderful software that's recommended by Kathy called Mind Mapping.
Yes, love mind mapping. It's awesome stuff.
I don't have to pay for my coaching certification because I've already done that through the Center for Coaching Certification. Thank you, Kathy. So it's those types of things that I need. When I've started businesses before and never made the effort to have some capital placed aside first, and then when things don't take off, you start panicking, and that feeling of failure is there when sometimes ideas and sales need to germinate.
Okay, great. Thank you. Nancy, anything else you want to ask Kat at the moment?
That was great. That was what I wanted to know, is where you were needing help and where you needed to put those funds.
Okay. So I think if anybody has any input for Kat as far as any of these needs that she has expressed, go on and raise your hand so that Kathy can see you, and then she can unmute one at a time. And one important thing I do want to say is, for those of you on the call who are coaches, there is a real distinction between what happens in a mastermind group versus coaching. And we are not asking you to coach Kat. What we're asking you to do is share a resource that has worked for you, share an idea that has worked for you, share perhaps briefly a personal experience of you facing something similar and what happened to you to help you with that. So it's less about coaching and more about providing resources and ideas and some different options or pathways. Okay? So Kathy, do we have anybody who's raised their hand who has some input for Kat?
Not yet, and I want to invite people, either raise your hand or if you want to type it in on the question panel, that would work as well. Kat, I do have a resource. There's, on the resource page on the website, there's an organization called Investing in Women. And they,
say again, please, Kathy.
There's an organization called Investing in Women, and they do small grants to help women get businesses up and running.
Awesome. Investinginwomen.com?
I believe it's a .org, and I'll double check.
Oh, fabulous.
Well, and I can look it up on the resource page as well.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay. Kat, this is Nancy G. One thought that pops for me is, I don't know how, what kind of experience you've had with trade or barter, but particularly for a website, and these days WordPress websites are the way to go, and WordPress websites are not nearly as complex and complicated as the other websites have been in the past, and you might find a student or someone who is willing to trade your coaching services for building a WordPress website for you. And the beauty of the WordPress website is once it's built, you can go in there and update it yourself. And that could also generate testimonials. And speaking of testimonials, the other thing that you could do is that you could offer a taste of what you do. You could offer some complimentary services for something in particular to give certain centers of influence a taste of what you do, with the agreement that if they like your services, they will provide a testimonial for you. And that won't generate actual cash, but it's going to generate some goodwill and buzz and word of mouth. So that, and I know that's something that sometimes is a challenge for people, but particularly since you already have the leverage in your healthcare, and that's another thing, is look at your low-hanging fruit. Look at your people who you've already had interactions with who trust you, and those are good people to start with.
Okay, and I'm sure
somebody typed in that there's a website called, or a mind mapping software called Free Mind. This is from Audrey, and she said Free Mind is downloadable and it's free, and it does mind mapping. And then Connie's got her hand up. Connie is live, so maybe she wanted to jump in with a comment or a suggestion.
Sure, great. Hey, Connie.
Hi, how are you?
Great. What did you have to share with us?
Well, I was going to share with Kat the bartering. I know that in what I'm doing, I tend to do that with women in particular, especially if it's a service that you have that they're in need of. And many times they're willing, if you discuss it right away and keep track of hours and make it a very formidable arrangement, that people are willing to barter. That's one thing I have found to be very beneficial.
I totally agree with that. Thank you for sharing that. And just as an aside for Kat, the best results I've had with barter is when, number one, you get really clear up front, as was just said, about are we going to do an even hour exchange, or what are your services worth hourly, what are my services worth hourly, let's adjust, you know, to your lowest my highest, or my lowest your highest, however that works, and then put it in writing and say we agreed to do this, and it makes it a formal kind of business arrangement. And I have had many trade and barter situations that have worked out really well that way. So thank you for sharing that. That was Connie, I think, right?
Yes, yes.
And
Okay.
I've got a couple more comments that have come in. John typed in that if you are a little bit technologically capable, you can use software called Coffee Cup, and it's what you see is what you get software that's easy to use. John, I think you're talking website design, so clarify that for me. And then Sherry typed in, if you choose a specific group, such as women, single parents, etc., there might be some grants for that. And I know a lot of nonprofit organizations that provide those kinds of services do have grants for that kind of thing. John typed in, yes, Coffee Cup is for designing websites. So
that's a great suggestion. Who was that, Kathy, who suggested about getting more specific?
Jonathan. So Jonathan.
No, the other person who suggested the focus groups.
Yeah, Sherry had the other comment.
Excellent. Excellent. That's good. Yeah, and one of the great things is that when you get very, very specific about your target market, you know, it might be, you know, perhaps people in the grad school who are studying to be addiction counselors who have themselves recovered from addiction. And you may be able to get some grants or funding because of that specific, or maybe it's single women or single mothers or something like that, Kat.
we do have a research center on campus that offers small grants like $500, and I'm not sneezing at that, for research topics like that. So that would definitely be something I hadn't thought about, but it could definitely turn into some sort of paper that that could be published in a addiction journal.
Right. And the other thing, Kat, that I would encourage you to do is that every time you think of, you know, wow, $5,000 or wow, this money, rather than and a lot of times being human, we go into the, gee, I can't do that. That's sort of the default. And I want to encourage you to shift into continuing to ask yourself, how can I? How can I? And another thing would be to let everybody else that you know what you're trying to do. You know, you might even, for example, if you've got, and this is, I just sort of got this as a brainstorm, which happens occasionally, as Nancy will testify. If you've got a friend who's a musician or a friend who's an artist or something, you know, maybe you want to hold a little fundraiser to kick off your program, and you know, maybe someone will contribute little pieces of artwork to be auctioned, or someone who's a musician will contribute their time because they believe in your cause and charge a fee and whatever. You know, there's many different ways that you can generate revenue.
couple. This is Nancy Spivey. I have a few ideas. The first one that came to my mind was a mastermind group because, you know,
Of
a number of the
course.
things, I mean, a number of the things that you're talking about needing, creation of a website, marketing professionals to assist you, mind mapping software, all of those are things that I personally, and Nancy can attest to this, and probably anybody else that has been in any business-type mastermind groups, when you create your mastermind group, you think about what are the kinds of things that I need, and you find different types of people with different skill sets. And I'll give you a funny example. In our mastermind group, one of the ones that Nancy and I have been in together, you know, people say that I'm like a technological guru. Well, Kathy will attest to the fact that that's not true because she had to help me with the PowerPoint. But when it comes to, but see, I have a lot of advanced skills that many of the members of our group didn't have. Like I can do a lot of stuff with search engine optimization and creating websites and different types of things that other people in our group didn't have experience with. Article marketing. I mean, there's a lot of things that just kind of come naturally to me, but I don't consider myself a technological guru, but I could share those skills with other people. And then there were things like maybe video editing that I didn't like to do. I don't like to do audio editing, but Nancy's great at audio editing, and another member of our group is great at video editing and shooting videos. So a mastermind group is one way to gain a lot of the resources that you need, and just like you found a lot of things today. The other thing I was going to suggest for you is potentially private investors, basically putting together a business plan and, you know, offering a small percentage back on the money that you would borrow from them, and you know, setting up a payment plan. And there are lots of people that we all know that we don't even think about that would say, okay, sure, you know, that's making more money. If I give you $500 or $1,000 and you pay it back to me over X amount of time, it's making more money than my savings account is. Okay, so that may be another route to go as private investors. So does anybody else have any suggestions?
Sherry just typed in, sell the idea to an organization rather than one person at a time. And I see that Connie's got her hand up again as well.
Am I on? Am I unmuted, Kathy?
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. One of the quotes that I found really helpful, and I don't even remember who told me it in my earlier business development stages, was that I liked what you said, Nancy, earlier about speaking to yourself as I can do it. And they said, you know, you can say that you can, and you can say that you can't, and you're right both times. So it's as if just starting in one little place, like what can you do? Can you develop a logo and a business card? And if you start handing those out, eventually customers will come. And in the meantime, that's a small way to start, but you can do that, and that's a minimal investment. And then in the meantime, you have a business card to hand out. And then eventually some of these things grow. So I love that I can do it kind of place, because I think it makes a world of difference in how you proceed.
Great.
Yeah, excellent. And I think that's Henry Ford that said that.
Excellent. Well, great. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. And I want to circle back around to you, Kat. And now we've been doing this with you for about 7 or 8, 9 minutes maybe. Tell us what you're walking away with from this little mini mastermind. What has shifted, if anything, for you?
Well, I think I don't have to do everything at once, and that was a real good come away with. Because I have somewhat of a captured group here, looking for something like the grants or the, you know, one person at a time will eventually get me to the place where I can maybe lose one of the part-time jobs and have the flexibility to do this more often. And I think that's what, and that will get me to the 5,000 faster, you know, where I can do. I don't need a website today. I could probably get a customer today without having a website.
There you go.
You know, and it's that realization that I'm selling me, and me is right here, right now. So
And if I may reframe that just a little bit for you, Kat, it's less about selling and it's more about just being your authentic self and building something that's really authentic and powerful that creates the attraction so that you're naturally going to find those people and those people will find you. So of course there's some selling involved in everything we do, but it's a sort of an attraction based versus let's club them over the head and drag them in based.
And what I love about what you said, Kat, is that, you know, even though we gave you all these suggestions and there are lots of things there that you can play with, you had a major aha on your own, just as a result of this mastermind work that we're doing right here, that, hey, I don't have to do everything myself, and I don't have to do everything right now. So I'd just like for everybody to think for a minute about the fact that we only spent less than 10 minutes here. None of us know each other, except Nancy and I. And look what, came out of this. And so if you can only imagine the beauty and the power and the magic of a mastermind group where you choose the people that you want to be there, that you meet regularly, and you begin to know one another and know each other's businesses and challenges and successes, and you're able to share in that consistently. If you can just imagine multiplying that by 10 or 100.
Yeah, it's like having a business family that you can really trust and they trust you, and it just grows. So this is great, and we want to acknowledge you, Kat, for stepping up to the plate and putting yourself on the hot seat, and for everybody who contributed some great ideas and information. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the other points that we promised you we would cover, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about specific ingredients that make a mastermind group work. So, okay, Nancy, why don't you take this part?
Yes. So mastermind groups can help you make more money, and we're all in business to make more money. And this is one of the main values of the mastermind group that it brings, the sharing of resources, skills, tools, assistance, knowledge, products, all kinds of things that you can share, as you've seen in what we just did a few minutes ago. When you make more money and then you save more money, then you're more profitable. So mastermind groups can really enhance your revenue stream or your financial situation by saving you money and helping you make more money. And Nancy, I think you have a story you wanted to share about that.
Yes, absolutely. One of the members of our mastermind group was very resistant about raising his fees, and we were firmly encouraging him for many months to do so, and we finally challenged him to give it a try, and he accepted our challenge, and his very next client ended up being a referral from another group member, and voila, magic, his highest fee ever.
Yeah.
So that's a great story, yeah.
Yeah, that was a really long, a long scenario that had been going on for him, and he was very resistant to raising those fees. But you know, we encouraged him, we supported him, and boom, he did it, and he was in a totally different fee schedule after that, and that has gone on, and he has continued to improve from there. And another member that we had in a mastermind group needed a resource, and we discussed the project. She'd already had 3 bids. Those bids came in between $12,000 and $20,000. And I referred her to someone who's highly qualified with a low overhead that came in at $6,000. So she was able to save 50% off of her lowest bid. So she ended up with a $6,000 job versus a $12,000 or $20,000 job. And if you calculate that over the course of just 1 year, that's $500 a month in savings.
Now, in our Magic of Mastermind program, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, but that's how we kind of got where we are right now, is that we got so passionate about mastermind groups and we wanted everybody to be able to experience them, that we created a program that walks everybody step by step through it. So in our program, we include, for example, several forms and checklists that help you pinpoint and build on the important elements that people bring into your mastermind group. For example, we have a comprehensive self-assessment for every group member, including you, the person who starts the group, so that you can look at what everyone brings to the table and the collective expertise and wisdom of your group. And that is where it gets to be really powerful. Okay, so now next we're going to talk about accessing the best resources. And go ahead, Nancy, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So as you all know, there's more information out there than we know what to do with these days. There's so many. When you think about software or website or marketing or anything you want to do in your business, there's so many choices. And it takes time to research the choices, to find resources that are available, and then to decide which one you're going to choose. And there really, literally, is not enough time to explore everything that's out there or single-handedly research it and learn about it. So with the mastermind group, you really don't even have to do that because you have a team of people there.
That's right. You have a group of trusted mastermind members, each with a wide variety of skills and experiences, who can help you get on the fast track. Now, here's another story. Nancy and I, between us, we have a lot of different learning programs in our respective business libraries, as do our other mastermind group members, and we share these with each other all the time, saving lots and lots of money. And also in your mastermind group, and here's the thing that's one of the things that creates the magic, is instead of just one pair of eyes, ears, and hands, in addition to your creative brain with your years of experience, you've got 4 or 5 or however many are in your mastermind group. So we have a saying in our Best Business Minds community that multiple minds equal exponential results. And this is what a mastermind group is all about.
That's right. And just to give you an example, I shared a simple web building tool with Nancy and quickly taught her how to use it without spending hours, the hours it took me to learn the system. Another member of ours, Iris, introduced me to my audio editing program, which I don't like to do, like I told you. So Nancy, you know, we collaborate and we work together, and she does a lot of that stuff. Another friend of Mastermind member taught us about brain science and how to use it to improve our marketing. And so each of these resources are very, very valuable, and we've saved tons of time and money researching the right product, and most of all, we've saved tons of time on the learning curve. So that's been really, really huge. And all of this is just going simply down to collaboration. Collaboration is the key. And many studies show that collaboration, particularly in challenging economic times, is the single most important factor that determines continuing success, because you don't have to do everything. You don't have to learn everything, figure out everything. You're really maximizing your return on your time and your investments to get the best benefit out of things. Again, multiple minds equals exponential results.
Don't you love that graphic, the key with the money on the, I just love that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about our magic mastermind formula. And it's really not magic, it's really very simple. And as you can see on the screen, it's who plus how equals the magic. And we laughingly call it our secret formula, but it's not really so secret. Okay, so who you choose, or is it whom? I think it's who. Who you choose is the single most important factor that can make or break your mastermind group. You really got to be careful. For example, somebody might have terrific skills and ideas, but they have a negative attitude. Or something like that. So you want to look at the character of the individual. Do they, keep their commitments? Are they discreet? Do they keep things confidential, et cetera, et cetera? Look at their personality. Maybe if you're really serious, you want someone who's a little lighthearted, or maybe you don't want somebody who makes a joke out of everything. So look at the skills and talents. Think about where you could find potential mastermind members. They're all around you, and you just don't know it. And then, of course, there's a conscious process of inviting and enrolling people, and if you do it consciously and deliberately, you're going to get a great group of people who are willing to commit to the group and help each other.
Yes, and we have a section in the manual that talks about when a mastermind group isn't working, that shows you exactly how to prevent that by choosing the right people, and there's a checklist so you can easily evaluate potential members. And these are things that Nancy and I share just as a result of both of us individually being involved in a lot of different mastermind groups, and then us being in mastermind groups together. So we've learned a whole lot over the years about what works and what doesn't work. And then there's also forms that you can give potential members to fill out so you can assess whether or not they're a good fit for your group, and an audio invitation that you can give to prospective members. So it becomes very easy to create that mastermind group. And so now we want to talk a little bit about the how of the mastermind group.
Right. Now, how you launch, structure, and run the group will determine its longevity and success. Now, here's a few specifics. We don't have time to go into a lot of detail about them, but we want to give you some idea of some of the factors that you need to be conscious of as your group is launching and continuing on. So, Nancy, if you give us the next slide, please. So, for example, you're going to look at conducting that first planning meeting. There's a way that you can frame things and set things up and get a sense of if people are ready and willing to make a commitment. And there's a way of really laying it out there to say, this is what I want to do, who wants to come on board with me. Gaining that commitment and creating the group, the commitment is really the key. Are people going to show up when they commit to showing up? And there are options, different ways to structure mastermind meetings so that they'll be effective for everybody and that everybody in the group gets an equal amount of attention and focus. And there's a lot of group activities you can do to keep your members engaged and interactive. And then there's challenges that are going to come up. If the group member leaves, if there's a personality conflict, if somebody's being unreliable. If you think ahead about how you're going to address these things and you have strategies in your back pocket, that's going to really contribute to your group lasting a long time. So now, a lot of people have also told us that they haven't started a mastermind group because they think they don't have group leadership skills. Maybe you're shy or you haven't led a group of people before. We took care of that in the Magic of MasterMind program. We spent a lot of time and broke down the process into simple step-by-step, and we've organized everything. So even if you're uncomfortable about starting a group, never led a group before, the material is specifically designed to help you get started and stay organized, to keep up with members, and to conduct your meetings. And it is filled with all the forms you need. So that's what we've done to make it easier for you.
And we also teach you how to and encourage you to engage other members so that everyone shares equal responsibility for having a great group. So you may be the organizer of the group, or you may find a buddy to help you organize your group, but that doesn't mean that you are always, that you don't have to be the leader, quote unquote the leader. It becomes a collaborative effort where everybody takes on responsibilities. For example, we trade off who facilitates at meetings, who brings food, some of these kind of things that we trade every month on doing. So nobody is really challenged with having to be the leader of the group.
Right. It's everybody takes turns being the leader. Okay, so we're on the home stretch here. We want to talk to you a little bit now about the magic and what comes into your life when you become part of a mastermind group. You get acknowledgement, you get acceptance, there's authenticity and accountability. You can be who you are with the group. It's a learning lab to be who you are in the world. You also create deep connections. You've found kindred spirits. having that group in your life has a positive influence on so many other aspects of your life, and there's so much more. This is just a little tip of the iceberg about what you bring in your life, what happens when you become part of a mastermind group.
And regardless of what field you're in, anyone can benefit from masterminding, and anyone can start a mastermind group.
That's right, and especially for coaches and other businesses that provide professional services, mastermind groups are a great way of leveraging your time and delivering leadership and coaching at an affordable price point to serve your market.
Yes, and now we'd like to just share with you what we have a special offer for you today. We want to share that real quick and then open up to see if anybody has any questions. If you do have questions, if you would go ahead and type those in for Kathy so she can let us know what they are. But the formula again is who plus how equals the magic. And Nancy and I have created a step-by-step, very easy how-to program with audio CDs and transcripts and checklists and really everything that you need to start your own mastermind group. And today, just for this group, we have a special offer. It's an e-version, and you can download the complete program right now. The link is there on the screen, so you can see that, and it's only for $77. This price is going to be good through Friday at midnight. And
note that the full price when you get the manual and the 3-ring binder and the actual CDs and everything, that price is $347. So when you get the electronic version, you're actually saving $270. And we're so passionate about mastermind groups and the potential for every business professional to get personal benefit as well as bring benefit to their clients that we wanted to make this offer available to this group. So it's $77, save $270, and it's good until Friday, August 3rd at midnight. And as a matter of fact, one more thing I wanted to slip in real fast here, Nance. We have a great idea for you. If you're kind of wanting to do this, but you're not quite sure you want to do it by yourself, think of a buddy that you'd like to start a group with. Share the investment of the product with them, and then the two of you start the group together. And by the way, one of the benefits of getting the product or the program right now that we've got up here on the screen is that there's a follow-up Q&A implementation bonus call, and if you do that with a buddy, both you and your buddy can come to that call.
Yeah, and just
real quick, just to let Nancy know, I will send this link out, and I think your next slide is a link if people want to sign up for the newsletter. So we'll get these links out to everybody. Those of you that do have questions, if you'll type them into the question panel so I can give them to Nancy, or if you want to ask it live, raise your hand, and I will unmute you so that you can ask your question live. You want to make sure you get the links, so we'll get those emailed to you. And then if you want to ask a question, either type it in or raise your hand and I'll unmute you.
Or rather than a question, if you have a pearl of wisdom, if you have a powerful takeaway that clicked for you during this program, type that in as well. Either way, we would just like to get some input about what's on your mind, what has been percolating in there for the past 50 minutes or so while we've been presenting this. Even if it's just a one-word takeaway, what are you walking away with from this program today?
I'm going to unmute Joanne. You're live. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
All right. Thank you. I actually clicked the button by accident. I was looking for how to type something in. But bottom line is, and if you said this and I missed it, I apologize. When I lead mastermind groups, I always, this issue of creating trust doesn't happen by accident. So I always ask, as part of that, people, if they're willing to agree to keep what is discussed within the meeting room.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the core principles of masterminding, and thank you for sharing that.
Okay, good.
Absolutely, positively, because that absolutely does build the trust.
Excellent.
Right.
And Ruth, you had a comment. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you so you're live. And Ruth, share your takeaway if you would.
Well, hi. I just wanted to say I love the idea of the possibility of referrals through a mastermind group.
That happens a lot because it's a really intimate setting where people get to know each other, and you learn not only about the other person's business, but you learn about their personality, their characteristics. And in a crowded field where there's a million chiropractors, real estate agents, coaches, whatever, it is the personality, it is the trustworthiness and the reliability of the person that oftentimes gets them a referral, don't you think?
Yeah, and to add to that, there are a lot of referrals that I still receive from people that I have been in mastermind groups with many, many years ago, and we still keep in touch, and maybe we'll get together annually, but we're not in an active, ongoing monthly mastermind, but they send me business because they understand my business and how I serve my clients, and I do the same thing for them. So it's a really neat and unique place to be in.
Great. Well, thank you for your comment. That was a really excellent point.
And another one here is really liking the idea of sharing the resources with each other. So that was good. Pat, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you so that you can share yours live. Go ahead, Pat. Pat, I've got you unmuted. Go ahead.
Perhaps Pat has muted.
Yeah, she might have muted herself or not have a microphone. So let me read her comment. She said her takeaway, she loves the power and magic of MasterMind. She's a firm believer in groups that are strategically organized to support each member's success, and ideas grow exponentially. So that's awesome. Kat, you're still live, so go ahead and share your comment.
Oh, I said the takeaway for me would be the simplicity of the ask. The group doesn't have to be hard to set up. You just need to get to the ask.
I love that. Thank you so much for that, Kat. That's a great comment.
Yeah, and Eric, you're live. Go ahead and share your comment.
Hi, it's Eric. I just wanted to relate this to how a board of directors oftentimes works, like in the corporate area, which is they work with people inside the company on challenges and opportunities, and I think you used the term learning lab, which I love very much.
Great. Thank you so much for that comment. We appreciate that.
Excellent.
Any other comments or questions, Kathy?
I think we had an opportunity to get to everyone, so that's awesome.
Great. Okay, great.
I do, of course, want to let everybody know how much we appreciate your being here, your participation today. I want to say thank you again to Nancy and Nancy for sharing their ideas and for doing the little mini mastermind. It's always fun to learn from that process. This will be made available on the YouTube channel for anyone who missed a part of it or wants to go back and see it again. I know a couple of you typed in questions on that. So it will be available on YouTube. And, of course, I'll send you the links out in an email so you'll have access to what Nancy and Nancy are making available. So.
And if you have any further questions or comments for us, there'll be our contact info in that email as well. Yes, Kathy, the email to reach us so that you can feel free to send us any questions that you have.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really been fun. We've had a good time.
Absolutely. Look forward to connecting with you all.
Thanks, Kathy, for having us.
Thank you, Kathy, very much.
Yeah, thank you. And just anyone who wants to, feel free to follow up with either of the Nancys, and of course you'll have my contact information in the email once again. So thank you all.
Bye. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.